David Katzel. He's the oh yeah, right. Continue meeting, right. Okay, so yeah, I think we've got it recording now. Excellent. So yeah, today we'll present what is a variety trial and do a seed-linked Q&A. So I'm Siri Van Gruen, I've got David Katzel with me and Nicolas Enjalbert from SeedLinked. So we're gonna start off just by passing it over to Nico so he can go over SeedLinked and just a bit about that. So thanks so much.
Great. I will share my screen. All right. Hi, everyone. Let's see. Oh, can you all see my screen?
Yeah.
Does it work? Okay, awesome. Yeah, hi, I'm Nicolas Enjalbert. I'm originally from France, but I live in the US near Madison, upper Middle West. And I co-created SeedLinked a couple years ago. And I used to be plant breeder for about 10 years for a different seed company in brassica forage before I collaboratively started SeedLinked, which is really a collaborative effort. Even if I'm trying to push for it, it's really a joint effort with many different organizations, university, U group have been amazing. And it's really how it's growing and it's shaping by having feedback from everyone. And I just want to give a kind of a broad view of what is SeedLinked, as most of you probably interacted from a trial angle, but just to give kind of a broad vision and kind of where we are heading. And so really, SeedLinked is a two-sided platform. Think about one hand, you receive seed and you're doing a trial, you're sending data. On the other hand, we have David or Siri who collect data and see all those insights. And so, but also it's really connecting all this information together to create collective intelligence for everyone, right? We have now a Seed Explorer that is fueled by your data, fueled by thousands of growers. And so it's kind of this two aspect of, okay, sharing information, but also searching and looking at the full seed story behind each variety. And really just now from a grower and gardener angle, just to remind you that as SeedLinked is really focused on small grower mostly and gardeners, really to remind you kind of why sharing information is important. And just thinking about small farmer globally, is 70% of the food is produced by 500 million farmers. And so small farmers are feeding the world really, and they are really missing information on what to plant. And so by collectively sharing information is really helping them. But also gardening, we forget that is the #1 hobby. And just in North America, we have more than 50 million households, 50 million, sometimes I struggle, planting vegetable, right? And they also need information, but also they can provide a lot of information that's super valuable for everyone. And so those both group, one of the most important decisions you make is what should I grow? And I give oftentimes the same example of tomato, but if you want to buy a tomato online, there's about, in North America, there's about more than 5,000 tomato you can buy online. And most of the oftentimes, there's not really data or information. It's a picture and a description. And so there's this really, I love looking at seed catalog, but at the end, when I go through all the seed catalog, how can you compare and look more granular in the data? And really, data is kind of a missing link, or data is siloed, connected, not together. And so, but imagine kind of what you're doing, right? What if we connect thousands of growers and their seed knowledge together, for example, here, all those growers, and use this information to help each other. That's really kind of the foundation of the mission with pushing this platform, this collaborative platform to, for example, here, one of our local farmer looking at our new comparative view. You can see on our new app where you can add different variety and you can look at different traits and you can see which one is best for you. And so really the core of SeedLinked is really to be able to connect from breeding or seed stewardship or seed bank or like seed saver exchange and other, all the way to the consumer, the chef, all the story, and we have a lot of chefs and people providing a lot of tasting information that also fuels the platform, and also all this information helping really smaller independent breeders, giving them the capacity to trial and bring new variety to you or to us, to everyone, because trialing is the most costly, is the most expensive things to develop new variety locally adapted. And so by bringing this capacity building by all you Season Science and other helping those seed breeder to bring seed to market is really how you're really helping the whole seed industry. And think a little bit, like agriculture has been a little bit behind digitalization, but think about how now is it easy to provide content, like create a podcast, like bring a book, to publish a book. It's kind of revolutionized kind of publishing music or podcast digitalization, but why can't we do the same for seed? How can we really bring capacity to bring better locally adapted seed? And so that's kind of another aspect. As the seed industry is changing, we have more and more regional, small, independent seed company, or like group like BC Eco Seed, or all the initiative like you see in your area is amazing. I'm so fascinated by all the work that's happening around Vancouver. And so, like an independent breeder from where we work in Minneapolis can work directly with hundreds of growers around Minneapolis in Minnesota at the minimum cost, and really get all this information, release and like Red Torch is amazing tomato mark released, and have great adoption because people now see directly the full story of this tomato with the data and can make decision. And so just to go over the quick three pillar, the first of SeedLinked, the first that you're exposed the most right now is really sending information, traits, data, picture, and being part of a trial. That's kind of builds the engine of finding seed, which is the second pillar. We're looking for seed. You can look on your mobile app or on the web by traits, by region. And the third that we are hope to release mid-July is really the glue over all that, is really a social media where you can interact with each other, how you do in the Facebook group, but within the trial, within your own trial, you can ask questions, or Siri can send response or advice, or and in the future, you can also will get more bioregion advice. People are planting tomato, or people are what you can do at a given time. And so in terms of growers, just to give you, if you look at where you are in BC and Pacific Northwest, we have about 700 growers. It's all stacked. It's hard to see, but there's so many. But just to give you a broader picture of like now we are close to 4,000 growers as of today. And so there's many who are sending information on. As of today, we have 35 crops tested this year. So it's a lot of information. We had, as of today, close to 70,000 reviews. And so it's really this amazing collaborative effort, even if the technology sometimes is catching up and there's bugs and it's frustrating and it's not working. And we are improving that, but I wish we had as much funding as Microsoft, but we don't. And it's really this collaborative effort to make it happen. So I really appreciate all of you to push and not giving up of using it. I think we got way better in the last year or so, but there's still an issue. I know there was a question on reliability of, okay, I share information. Is it really valuable? But what we demonstrated in the last 3 years is that actually you rating, because we have so many of those rating, is even more predictable than this conventional qualitative, highly intense trialing. And here's an example of pepper quantitative data on the y-axis and x-axis of scoring. You can see strong correlation, but I think the second graph is even more, I think, shocking as a conventional breeder for me, as how disruptive and powerful the data you're sending is. That here, if I look at correlation, this is on, I think this was on pepper with hundreds of growers. And if you compare data from 2019 versus 2020, you can see that it's super predictive because we have having a lot of people like you with many locations, and location is a huge variability. And by having a lot of them, we succeed to have this super robust capacity to predict what pepper, for example, will do well in your area and so forth. And so yeah, by sharing data, you are making a difference and you're building seed story. So SeedLinked is really, we have a core team of 4 and 7 developer and designer. And so it's been growing and really such a amazing journey. And we have so many advisors from Seed Saver Exchange, from very large organizations like the World Veg Center, or Biodiversity, or you, David and Siri, and others are helping us. It's a benefit corporation, so is it a social enterprise? It was kind of a consensus to try to go as a route of for-profit to try to find resilient models that can sustain over time. But there's core mission, which is diversity, and diversity in its core meaning people, preference, culture, place, crop, and variety, and within variety. So that's really what drives a lot of decision, and accessibility, transparency, as well as being sustainable financially. So that was kind of a quick overview. I didn't go on terms of how to use it. If anybody has a question, we can go after the presentation is done. Definitely, I can give a quick demo on different things. But quick reminder, don't forget to use the mobile app if you if you have a mobile phone and you're okay to use mobile app. It works offline, so you can go in the field, you put your phone on airplane mode, and it just works, and then you come back, turn Wi-Fi on, and it just syncs automatically. It allows you to enter seamlessly picture in the field and do a lot of things in the field very quickly, easy. At the end, don't forget to complete your trial, and also if you look at the result, you will be able to look at picture, comment from everyone as soon as you're done with the trial. And also please play with the whole platform. Look at the Seed Explorer, look for what's been tested across all North America, looking at review, comments. That would be great. And so a quick update on what's coming. We are building this social feed within trial I just mentioned. We are adding notification to remind people in a better way to review and give notification. And we are really working out on improving the user experience in general. It may be not as important for you, but we are bringing more breeding tool into the platform to really help breeding project. And we are constantly fixing bugs. So yeah, this platform is used in many different ways. I just want to give even a broader picture. We just launched a project in West Africa where 16,000 small farmers are going to use it to help and develop local adapted crop for West Africa to help nutrition. The organic cotton industry in India is going to start using it to better develop organic seed for organic cotton. Europe is starting in Italy next year to try to deploy it. So it's becoming kind of a broader picture, and we are really excited to learn from all of you. And we are constantly looking for people to join the team. And if you know, or if you're interested, feel free to contact me. If you have expertise in software engineer, data science, or digital marketing, we would love that. So yeah, that's kind of a quick overview of SeedLinked. And I know Siri has a lot of great information on trialing, and so I'm really excited to hear that. And then in the feed, feel free to ask questions, or we should have time at the end anyway to have a good discussion.
Awesome,
yeah,
great. Thanks so much, Nico. That was really great overview.
Cool.
Okay, I'm just going to share my screen here. 1 second. Okay, so jumping into this presentation. So what is a variety trial? Well, a variety trial consists of growing and comparing a number of different plant varieties of the same crop. So in the citizen seed trial, we're comparing two different crop varieties against each other. A variety is just a group of plants in the same species, but has distinct characteristics. Like our Beauregard snow peas are distinct because they're purple versus our slocan are pretty, you can tell that they're a different variety because they're green, even though they're both Piscium sativum in the same genus and species. So why would you do variety trials? Also, Nico and David, feel free to chime in at any point. You can identify optimal plant varieties for growers' unique environmental conditions. Even in BC, we have a ton of different environmental conditions. Somebody that's living in the interior, say Kamloops, is gonna have quite a dry environment, and what works well there might not work so well on the West Coast where we have lots of rain, things like this. It also is important because you can mitigate the risk associated with farming. So farmers can go on apps like Seedlink to see what seems to work well in their area, or if they do a variety trial, they can see which plant did well in the variety trial so that when they do it on a bigger scale, they know what to expect. So that's really important. It's also great to source new interesting varieties. I'm sure a few of the varieties of the citizen seed trial you guys probably haven't seen before. In our Canovi project, we have been introducing like radicchio varieties and rutabaga varieties to Canada, which aren't so common here yet, but by trialing them, they might become more popular. Also, you might want to do a variety trial to find varieties that are optimized for certain times of the year. We do our citizen seed trial in spring, but you could do a trial in summer or fall to find cool season crops that handle high heat, things like that. You also might want to do a variety trial to replace a drop variety. Let's say your favorite tomato, seed catalogs aren't carrying it anymore. You might do a variety trial to figure out, what am I going to grow on a large scale next year? Also, to understand crop responses to environmental stressors. Let's say the forecast says there's going to be a ton of pest pressure this year. It's a cyclical cycle of moths, and the moth population is going to be really strong. So you might, while your favorite cabbage is a certain type, you might that year choose to pick quite a pest-resistant cabbage just because there's going to be increased environmental stressors. So the Citizen Seed Trial has been engaging home gardeners and passionate growers since 2016. Some of the benefits are you get to engage with plant breeders and people like Nico from SeedLinked. You get to have the chance to try saving your own seeds. Healthy eating. Apparently a lot of people in the trial have been found that when they grow their own food, they're eating it. So that's great for your health. You get to enhance your gardening skills, and you get to be part of the community. We send emails to give some prompts of gardening tips and things like that. Our Citizen Seed Trial Facebook group is a great way to feel like you're part of something. So importance for organic growers. So variety trials can be even more important for organic growers because conventional growers can use agrochemicals like fertilizers and pesticides to fix crop issues that arise throughout the season. But organic growers often rely more heavily on superior genetics and careful crop selection to avoid having to use these agrochemical products. So organic growers are going to look for something like with disease resistance and pest resistance because that's important to them because they can't just spray pesticides, things like that. So
yeah, that's why maybe just quick on organic is why it's even more important to do collaborative trialing in organic because of this diversity of condition and situation. And while in the agrochemical system, we try to have level field or control as much variable, but in organics it's not that. And so collaborative trialing is so important to capture all this diversity.
Yeah, it's so true. Different environments see what does best so that organic growers can choose one that will probably work well for them. So the first part of creating like a variety trial is definitely to figure out your trial goals. So there can be many different goals in a variety trial. You might be introducing or promoting a new crop to an area. You might be trying to identify specific varieties that are disease or pest tolerant. A big one for home gardeners is to find superior tasting plants. If you're at home, you want the best tasting plant you can that's very vigorous. You might look for vigor, weed competitiveness, varieties for specific harvest windows. This might be important for people like supplying to restaurants and things, that they have it in a certain time of year. Also, you might want to identify varieties that perform well in certain production systems. I know some of you are probably trialing in containers, and you might want to see, well, what variety is more better to grow in a container versus in the ground, things like that.
And yeah, also just your own preference. Like we're all so different. We all have different culture, different origin, that we can't even put a point here, but it's just whatever you like. And so exploring the possibility, I feel, at least for me, I'm just so excited. Like I work a lot with Seed Saver Exchange, and to send a variety from the collection, you have no idea what's coming, and it's just like just this discovery fun aspect of what's out there.
Yeah, it's so exciting. I think you really get exposure to things when you take part of these trials. I know just being here, I've definitely learned a lot of new crop varieties. It's fun. Yeah, so just a check variety. A check variety is a variety that you are familiar with or is well understood in your region. Check varieties offer a standard for you to compare the other varieties to. So in the Citizen Seed Trial, we don't have a specific check variety set up, but often on larger trials, you might have a variety that you're very familiar with to be able to compare to. So for example, let's say like early girl tomato, very popular. Let's say you're a gardener and you have your early girl tomato and you grow it every year. And this year you've got your Alfarora and your Stupice, and normally your early girl does really well, but this year it got a disease, and so did your other tomatoes. Well, you'd be able to tell in that case that there was just increased disease pressure in your area, and it wasn't necessarily so that, you know, the Alfarora and the super resistant against disease. So check varieties are good for things like that. They allow you to compare seasonal conditions, compare performance, and communicate results. I think that one's really important because oftentimes you can say, oh, it has a 5 scale, like I rate it 5 for yield, but what does that really mean? You could say, in carrots, we often use Bolero as a comparative. Well, my certain carrot, it yielded more than Bolero, so it has good yield. So it's nice to be able to explain to people in comparison to a known crop.
Yeah, right. And check is such a foundation pillar of any seed work. It's really this reference point. And now if you're using SeedLinked in the app, mobile or in the PC, you can actually have the option to add a check. So if you have your trial on whatever crop you're doing, you can add a third crop to your trial, and this will be tagged, you will see as check. And you can remove and edit at any time, but that's allow you to compare. So please try to use this on your mobile or on the PC on SeedLinked. Play with it, remove it, experiment, and yeah.
Yeah, excellent. So trial design, the most important factors in trial design is to ensure that the varieties are grown in similar condition. The emphasis of a trial is on differences in varieties and not differences in field and management conditions. So I've mentioned it in some emails, but if you got some plants in a pot, you're going to also want your other plant in a pot. Things like this, you just want to make sure you treat them differently. You know, you don't want one tomato right next to your house that you're always looking at, you're weeding it constantly. The other tomato variety is 16 feet away. You never get to the far end of your garden. It's overgrown by weed. You're going to get different results. So it's really just about minimizing environmental impacts.
Yeah, that's really good. And planting at the same time. And if you use a check or a variety that you love, it's oftentimes good to kind of intertwine like some of this reference variety. You can interplant between the different variety as a marker of variation of the field.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really good to have your check varieties like in between them.
Yeah.
So trial design replication of a trial in different fields allows farmers to account for differences in land and climatic conditions. So this requires more space and effort. So we do it in Citizen Seed trial by having multiple gardeners performing the same trial. It's kind of a form of replication. And yeah, a field effect is any factor that would influence plant performance, like sunlight, slope, weed pressure, etc. Here we've got like a trial design replicated example. You've got they've got clay to loam soil, and they've got all of the varieties in kind of these areas, all of them replicated, trying with some checks in between to check them, to compare it to, and then borders around, because often plants at the edge might have an advantage or disadvantage, like there might be a lot more pressure on the edge, so it's nice to get rid of the edge effect.
Yeah, and it can get really complicated with replication. And it's why really those kind of new collaborative way of like how you're doing it with many people, the goal is really to keep it super simple for you, but because we have so many of you, it becomes even more powerful. And so, but it's a good view of like how trialing in a standard way can be also super complicated.
Yeah, there's a lot of strength in numbers. So a screening trial is when varieties are just grown out on one plot of a garden or farm, often accompanied by a check variety. So this is mostly what we're doing. We're just doing one plot in our garden with our plants. Screening trials are really appropriate for traits that are less affected by land and climatic conditions. Let's say your goal is to have a certain color, like you want your golden Shigoya beet, you really want it dark orange with stripes. Well, that's going to be around the same no matter where you grow it. Yield and things are more impacted by climate, but things like color are usually less impacted by land and climatic conditions. Screening trials are also great for preliminary analysis. So you might just want to do a small area, like one plot on your farm or something, just to knock out a few varieties that you definitely know after the first year, that's not going to work here. So you can do a larger trial with the plants you've selected. And it's also great for growers of limited space or growers replicating the trial on multiple farms and gardens. Then I've just got, this is just what is trial design screening example might look like. Similar to the other one, but they've just got one variety of each. It's great to just randomize as much as you possibly can.
So yeah, here you can really see with a check, even if you don't have replicated of your main variety you're trialing, if you know while you check, you can see, okay, now I'm reviewing in between var I and D, and my check maybe is less vigorous. I can kind of adjust my reviewing and
yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you see that
yeah,
your check didn't do well on the right side, you might know that the loam might have infected all of your trials on that right side to not do as well.
And border too are super important if you really want to be like in the role of trialing. Is oftentimes, let's say you look at trial variety B and you don't have a border. Well, variety B may have extra nutrient because there's an empty space where you don't have a border, and suddenly variety B seems maybe more vigorous because they can capture more food in a way. And so, and then the trial variety E is surrounded by crops, and so they don't have this capacity. So that's border can be very important. It's why sometimes having even the small trial you're doing, embed them in your main tomato, main pea, or this way they're surrounded by crop.
Mm-hmm. Another option that sometimes people do is called a mother-baby trial design. So farms or gardens are often called the baby site. So there's just a single plot of each variety. Then research centers are the larger mother site. So they did this at UBC for a while, where they would have multiple plots of a randomized design. But I remember David was telling me they found that just having multiple farmers doing it, having it replicated so many times gave just around the same results as having a few research centers. So really it's an option out there, but it's it's just as good to have a whole bunch of people doing the same trial.
Yeah, it's been a really good method to validate these collaborative methods, but now we have so much data of like how collaborative or having only baby, if you will, is even more powerful than just few months of trial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another thing that sometimes people do is a blind trial, which involves using codes such as numbers or letters to distinguish between the trials. This is great because humans are inherently very biased, especially if we have preconceived notions about varieties. Even variety names can give us bias. Like I was talking about the early girl tomato before. You hear the word early and you're going to think, oh, this tomato is going to be early, you know? And by having the numbers, you're kind of dissociating from your preconceived notions. Obviously, the key to this is make sure to not lose the guides that correspond the codes to varieties. Not doing this here in Citizen Seed Trial, but we have done it before.
But if you join probably some events, tasting events, maybe not with COVID, but I know I've been to some of the tastes at events in Vancouver, and with Seedlink we have tasting capacity with QR code, and it's all blind, and I'm sure you all experience, like you go in a restaurant and you eat whatever dish, and this day you feel so good, or there's this amazing experience around what you eat, and suddenly the food is tasting much better. Just kind of extrapolating that to if you taste 4 carrots and maybe one is looking absolutely beautiful, may influence how you perceive that flavor, even if the flavor, like the sweetness or intensity, might not be very different, but you yourself has been influenced. So tasting is most of the time is we use blind.
Yeah, it's so true. It can be so hard tasting trials to decide what actually tastes better. It's a difficult thing. So the number of plants in a trial, the number of plants you include for each variety will be definitely dependent on the amount of space resources available. Obviously, a larger number of plants is better. It gives you a larger sample size to consider and will allows you to observe typical traits of the variety. Generally speaking, it's more important to have larger number of cross-pollinated varieties than self-pollinated, just because cross-pollinated tend to have a bit more genetic diversity. That'd be something like beets, tomatoes, and peas are both self-pollinated, so usually having a smaller population is okay for observing them.
Yeah, and I think you can, as tomato, you can go as low as 3 plant per variety. Like, okay, you have one who may die and you still have 2 that one can confirm each other in terms of what you're seeing. And I will be skeptical to go below that number, but we've seen great result with 3 plant for tomato, for example. It's different for carrots, but for carrots maybe 3 dinner food or something like this.
Yeah, also a cross-pollinated one. And then once you've got all your plants and you've set your trial goals, definitely labeling is an important step of variety trials. Knowing which varieties are which is a must for evaluating. So make sure your field or garden is properly labeled. We also find at Farm that it's really great to have a backup. We've got a field map that we use with Google Sheets just to record we've been placing things. This is important for us because labels can fade, or the Sharpie, not so permanent, falls off, or a crow can come sweep away, or birds. Just different things can disrupt your labels that you're not expecting. And especially something like the beets, the 2 beet varieties might look very similar. Something like the peas, you'd probably be able to tell apart because one's purple, one's green once you see it. But some things, if you lose the label, it's going to be really hard to figure out which one is which. So evaluation of variety trials, it occurs periodically throughout the season. Beginning of the season, you're going to be looking at germination, post-transplant evaluation. Late in the season, things like yield, flavor, height, and throughout the season, insect resistance, disease resistance, vigor. It's just important to stay consistent with your evaluation between the trials. I think it's good to evaluate both of them on the same day so you can kind of make sure you're staying consistent with them. Also to make sure you have the same person or same group of people evaluating them, because different people are going to have different perspectives, those kind of things, just limiting the bias.
Yeah, and that's why we really try to push people to use mobile app, because in the past we have a lot of people who would go in the field and look at the plant and store in their head, oh yeah, I think this one was this, but then so the information may be entered a few days or months later in your PC, and but being straight in the field and entering those review right there definitely will bring more accuracy to your review.
Yeah, so true. The app's really convenient. So here's just a picture of us at the farm. You can see we've got our phone out, entering in our data on all these rutabagas, kind of change them by variety. It can be difficult. Sometimes things look very similar, but you kind of just have to go with your gut when evaluating.
Yeah, that's, I think for me, at least from my breeding experience in rating 1 to 5, is that there's only one advice I think I can give you, is just follow your gut, be in this kind of state of like not feeling great of what you're reviewing and you don't know, but just stick to what you think. That's the state you want to be. It's uncomfortable, and if you're feeling comfortable, that's perfect. And just put the review, move on. And typically, when we did many analysis of accuracy of data, this is where data is the best. And so, if you start to spend an hour like, oh, I should put a 3.5 or like a 4 or a 5, and I should kind of think too much, typically the data is not as accurate, which is weird, but it's just the way it is.
Yeah, it's true. Gut instinct is everything.
Yep.
So there's so many things you can evaluate to cater for your needs. These are the ones we're doing for CST this year: germination, vigor, disease and insect resistance, earliness, flavor, height, uniformity, root size, appearance, yield, and overall. If you have any questions about rating any of these, please feel to like leave a comment and question, and we'll definitely get to it. So yeah, Nico was saying, like, really it's a 1 to 5 rating, and it's really just your gut. I think we have a tendency to have a bias towards not using the extremes of the scale. It can feel scary to give something a 5 or give something a 1. But I think sometimes when you evaluate everything 3 or 4, it makes it really hard at the end to figure out what was actually better. So don't be scared to be like, oh, this one got really bad disease, I'm going to give it a 1. It's okay to give something a 1. And it's okay to say, oh, this seemed like I got so many tomatoes, they were all super disease free. Like, give it a 5. It might deserve it. It's okay to use the extremes.
Yeah, totally.
So
Be bold, and also you can add with SeedLinked to multiple review. Like for example, you're in disease, and you may be now, and you have one kind of disease, and okay, it's a 5, so it's nothing, and the other one has maybe a 3. But then you come back 2 months later, you can add multiple review, and you can add your reason. So feel free to add multiple review for given traits.
yeah, and the other things we record is like the planting date, transplanting date, harvest, and last harvest date, because that helps us find out the days to maturity, effects of when you were planting, effects of timing, and it also shows us the harvest window, which can be quite useful to a lot of producers.
Yeah, and think about in the Explore, we are adding seasons. So let's say farmer or grower, you are testing lettuce. You can search, okay, I want a spring lettuce, or I want a heat tolerant summer. And those filters going to go back into the database and look at, okay, all the people who planted at this date or harvested at this date, we have a query and we pull this information, and then we say, okay, this lettuce seems to be the best to harvest in your area at this time. And so that's really how those data are going to be really fully used. And also in the future, in SeedLinked, you will be able to see your history. So, oh yeah, what was last year? Like, when did I plant my tomato? When did I harvest? And so that's kind of what we are building to be able to kind of your journal of planting and data and stuff. So
yeah, it's really great. There's so much you can do on SeedLinked. So now just a fun exercise.
yeah.
So let's compare these two beet varieties. So I'll give everybody a couple minutes, but just look at the two, number 1 and number 2, and try to rate the uniformity and the yield. It's a lot to look at here. Feel free to use the chat, or if you want to chime in, that's also good. Oh, whoops, I accidentally. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, I'll just give everybody a bit more time. I might write in what I'm feeling. Yeah, so it looks like we're all kind of around the same, thinking
You
the
can
same.
yeah, and you can see like, okay, if we have 2 people, like the way we review, some are more maybe pessimistic, some are more optimistic, can influence. But when you have like 10, or I mean, the case of CST, when you have like 200 people, the trend just become like so beautiful.
Yeah, you can really get it. Because, yeah, it seems like everybody's around uniformity, thinking number 1's around a 4, which I think seems pretty appropriate. I mean, I gave it a 5 because I thought it looked pretty uniform. But that's obviously, I'm obviously a bit of an outlier. And number 2, everybody said around 1 or a 2, which I would agree. Number 2 is not very uniform. And for yield, we have similar kind of, number 1 is around a 4 and number 2 is around a 3, which, I mean, these ones, I mean, to me, these beets don't look super big. I mean, it's hard to tell from the photo, obviously, but I think some beets can get really big. So I wouldn't say these are the biggest beets, but that's also why a check variety might be important, because
Exactly.
you can compare it.
Like this is where check will just, you will get even more accurate. Like, okay, I know my, I don't know, Detroit red or whatever you have in beets or standard is X, and then you can say, oh yeah, like number 1 in yields, in fact, is maybe just a 3, and number 2 is maybe a 1. You know.
Exactly, because comparing them, you can obviously not see number 1 looks better than number 2, but I mean, number 1 might not be that big either. Yeah.
Yeah, and picture, David, great. Like in your app, you can, or the PC, just you can enter picture, and when you finish your trial, you can see all the picture of other 2, and that's super fun. So you can imagine all those pictures from everyone from different places, and you can also like the different picture and see what are the most liked picture and stuff. So picture can be one of the best rating, actually. You know, just kind of show what they're.
Yeah, it's so true. Okay, well, thanks everybody for taking part of that exercise. I guess I'll move on. For whatever reason, my computer is not quite changing the slides right now, but there we are. Okay, so yeah, quantitative comments and rating reasons can be added for more specific measurements, such as germination, height, and yield, if desired. You don't have to enter these precise measurements like height in centimeters or yield per plant, because it's often more time consuming, so less practical. But if you feel like it and it's going to help you come up with a number, like those are also things that you can add. As Nico was saying, pictures are super great. You can add them throughout the season, super easy to add on SeedLinked, and also qualitative remarks like poor yield or disease resistant can be very useful if they're used consistently throughout a trial. So it's not all about the ratings. There's other things too that can help other growers, even comments on a variety. Like I would go look up on SeedLinked, look up a new variety and see what people have said about it. Like those kind of qualitative remarks can be really nice. So ranking, this is another option that sometimes people do during variety trials. So if you had 10 varieties in a trial, the best variety you'd give a 10, the second best a 9, the third best an 8, and so forth. It's just one way to do it. I think in our citizen seed trial, we kind of have we're kind of ranking them against each other, but we're also kind of looking at them independently. So it's kind of a mix of two. So really it's maybe a bit harder, but I believe in you guys.
Yeah, we try until last year we had a model that we were just asking you, give me the best and the worst. You were receiving only 3 variety every time. And people really were frustrated about, I can only choose one best and one worst, but I can't distinguish. And so it's really powerful to distinguish a set of variety, but in terms of user experience, people were super frustrated. So we pause this for now, and we are rethinking of a way of doing it. But it's super powerful. Ranking is very powerful.
Yeah, because then you do get the extremes. So you get a really clear view of what people think. So data collection, that's kind of the last step of this. So apps like SeedLink to make it really easy for you to evaluate in your field or garden. Also allows you to rate the varieties more than once throughout the season, as you said. Just a note, if you do have replicated trials, it's important to rate them separately, which is another great functionality of the SeedLink, being able to rate twice. Another note is it's better to rate all the plants as a whole rather than the individual, as individuals can often be outliers and skew your data. We were talking about the border and edge effect before. Maybe your one tomato plant at the edge of the garden just does not do well, but it's getting all the slugs from the grass next to it. So it's getting eaten. So you want to kind of look at them all together, not the outliers. If your plot is too large to look at a whole, I doubt that'll be a problem for many people here, but just randomly select as many individuals as possible to evaluate.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, tasting trials. They're a great way to get multiple perspectives on flavor and culinary traits. If you're doing a tasting trial just in your house, or maybe your family and some friends, just some tips would be to make sure your crop's at maturity, be aware of environmental factors. So like if you're doing lettuce and you harvest one in the super hot sun and leave it outside for a couple hours, and the other one you harvest on a cool day and you refrigerate it right before, when you're tasting them, they're gonna taste different because they've been treated different. So it's just being aware of things like this, and to take a representative sample. Like don't take the outliers, the best looking one, the worst looking one. Take some vegetables that look around the middle. They look representative. And we were talking about this before, but avoiding bias. It can be super just knowing the name, hearing what other people are saying about it will all affect how you rate things.
Yeah. But at the end, it's so powerful. Like I'm so shocked. All the tasting we do with 20, 30, 50 people, you see very clear trends. And so don't be afraid to give a wrong review or a wrong taste. Just do it. It's okay. And yeah. And if we have a little bit of time, I'm going to show you at the end how a result looks like at the end, just to give you an idea of when you complete the trial, what you can see. And so I will just show you an example if we have time.
Looking forward to that. Yeah, we're nearly done here. So evaluating your data, you can set up very previous graphs, charts, and try to visualize the data whenever possible. Nico will kind of show us a bit of this. SeedLink produces graphs, so it's super easy. None of you guys really have to worry about it. We'll have a results webinar later on in the season to go over all the results. If you have happened to replicate the trial, it's great to compare the plots to each other, because you might learn something about your land. You might learn, oh, tomatoes did really well in that plot, but not in the other one, maybe the other one's not getting enough sun. Maybe I should think about planting more cool season crops in that one, things like that. Statistics can also be used, but I'm not going to go into that so much. So great, yeah, we've come to the end of this presentation. I'll hand it over to Nico if, so he can show us what some of the results look like, and feel free to leave any questions. I got a few questions on the registration, so I'll go over a couple of those too. Thank you very much.
Maybe first use this burning question, go ahead and I can show after.
Okay, yeah. Somebody asked, would there ever be a category for planting in ground versus in pots? Is that something you guys have considered?
Yeah, maybe, can you give me the sharing?
Oh yeah, I think I have
and
to
I
stop share.
can, let me show you that quickly. All right, share. So when you finish, all right, sorry, I'm looking for, okay, yeah, I'm showing Seedlink here. I think you can see. Let me pull a trial. And when you finish a trial here, this is not the mobile app, but this is a PC. If you click complete review, this question, would you grow this again? You can add more comment if you want. But then you have some management question. You have location, field, hoop house, greenhouse, backyard. And here we will add pot. We haven't added yet. I think right now just put your backyard, and we understand it's more gardener. But so yeah, I hope to have this
cool.
added very soon.
Okay, great. Yeah, somebody asked what's the best planting pattern to minimize environmental influence, but I think we've gone over that pretty well throughout the conversation, throughout the presentation. Yeah, in the comments, we got somebody just said maybe add raised beds too.
Yeah, see, it's why I need to be here today. All those comments.
Great, yeah. So yeah, just we'll have the floor open, so feel free to leave any comments, ask any questions.
Yeah, and feel free to send to me, Nico at SeedLinked, or info at SeedLinked, or feedback at SeedLinked. Anything. This is how SeedLinked has been built, is by just people like just now giving me, oh yeah, add this, add this. And
Awesome. Yeah. Is there anything you wanted to share, David?
Yeah, I can share the screen here too. I can quickly show the results, and David, feel free to.
No, I think that's great. If anybody wants to like ask questions in the comment box, or if you remember them later, email them to us, or like Nico says, you could send them to him. That's great.
Yeah, so for example, here is a trial here with 4 broccoli I did last year. And so I can see the variety name at the bottom. I can look at by trait, so I can, I just maybe want to look at just the flavor here. And when I hover on it, I can see even all the trait. I can see my rating, average rating, and the total number of grower. So you can see, okay, I give a 3 in appearance for Jeep for Batavia. The average was 33.7, that was 28 grower. Here you have the would you grow this again question. You can also click in the picture here. So yeah, I have, my internet is loading slow, but here you can see all the different picture, the region. You can so you can see from each variety, and you can look at all the comments for each one, and you can or you can sort by comments too. I guess it's not here, but you can also, if you want to just look at 2 variety side by side, I just want to look at this one and this one. Or I want to look at only farmer or gardener data. Anyway, that's, I let you play with it when you're done, which is exciting. So that was kind of a quick overview of results. We hope this is going to be improved. And maybe a quick thing before, you can go and explore here. And you can also do that right here. You know, we talk about beats. And so if you click beats and I want to compare this one, this one, this one, and this one, and I click compare view. And here I get all the traits, all the information side by side from all data submitted by everyone. I can select by zone, or I can look at traits. So that gives you an overview, a global view if you want to. So that's kind of different way to look at results or data in SeedLinked. It's all on the mobile app too. I feel it's even better in the mobile app.
Excellent. Okay, well, it doesn't look like we have too many questions, but I'll just, maybe we'll close off at 1. So if anybody has any questions, we'll just be here for a few more minutes. And then thank you all so much for coming. We really appreciate you being here and taking part of the Citizen Seed Trial using SeedLinked, and kind of, it really does help secure our seed system. And the more people that grow, really the stronger our whole food system is. The more people that use SeedLink, the better farmers are able to see your data, compare it, and you're really helping out a lot of different people.
I'll mention too, you know, we've been running trials for a number of years before and after SeedLinked, and it's made our job so much easier. You could imagine that we would have been sending you out all pieces of paper for you to copy down all of your data, send them back to us. You wouldn't get results till next year sometime. By the time, you know, it probably take 3-4 months after the trials closed before we'd be able to share that information back to you. And this has made it pretty instantaneous. And not only that, it's not just the data from this trial, it's comparing data from those varieties for other trials as well. So it is very powerful.
Yeah, thanks. And it's just a tool too, and it's not for everyone. We totally respect that. So some people, digital is not what they embrace, but I think we also need to respect that. But it's definitely helping a lot of people. Okay, looking at all the comments. Yeah, oh, great question. Might be useful to provide info on watering, fertilizing, all that. When you complete the trial, you will click on different boxes like full sun, shade. So all that you can do when you finish the trial. We don't ask for irrigation. We're not going to ask how many cubic or like how many water you put it. We're just going to ask, was it fully irrigated, limited, or dry, which is plenty enough. And this allows it to split perfectly. Great. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, planting your beets, it's still a good time to plant beets. Not sure where you live, but it's still a good time to plant beets.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if you want to join any trial, I think this year I don't know any open trial. If you go on the SeedLinked website, we have few trials where you're gonna have to buy, so you just pay to receive the seed. I believe there's letters still open, but I don't know any trial that's open. Do you still send seed? Probably not, right?
We've pretty much run out of seeds for this trial now, and it's a bit late for the tomatoes anyway. But yeah.
But for next year,
stay tuned for next year.
Yeah, in January, look at for trial, and on the SeedLinked webpage now, at least starting for next fall, we will list all the trial from all the different organizations to be able to, if you're interested and the trial is open, you can join.
And you can sign up for SeedLink now, like sign up for an account anyway, right? So
yes, yeah, please do so. Yeah. Create an account, and you're going to be in the network, and you will receive newsletter And on those newsletters, we often talk about, oh, hey, we had Turtle Tree Seed just had a wonderful trial recently, and people could sign up right away, or you. And lastly, you can run your own trial in Seedlink. You don't have to be invited. So you can go in the search, create a wish list. From the wish list, you can create the trial directly. So you want to track your own, you bought some amazing seed from BC Eco Seed, and you want to track them, you can do that on your own. And when you do that, you can even invite your colleague, your wife, your partner, your husband, your intern, whoever, and run your own small trial. So that's new also in Seedlink. So.
Will that trial, Nico, be opened up to anybody else in SeedLinked as well, or?
No, that will be just the people that when you create it, you can enter the email of the people you want to invite. And so that will be restrained to really your small community. So cool.
Great.
Great. Well, thanks everybody so much for showing up. Good luck with your trials, and you can email us at any point with any questions. Someone just asked, how do I access the app in SeedLinked?
Yeah, just wherever you get your app, just click SeedLinked for your Android or iOS, and it will come up and download. And then it's the same credential. And as soon as you log in, you will see your trial under track, and you set up. Don't forget to update. Most phones update automatically, but we update our app really frequently to improve, fix bugs. And so if you don't have the automatic update, look at your update.
Awesome. Okay, I guess we'll sign off.
That's great.
Bye,
Okay.
everyone. Thanks so much, Nico, for joining us. Take care.
Thanks so much for having me. Bye, everyone.
Bye.